Hello, we're back again. This is Maurice Dwayne Smith with Nuclear Popcorn, and the popcorn is popping straight out of the freaking kernel today because we have M the Movement.
How are you?
Very good, sir. Thank you so much for coming here with us. And you brought quite a few of your friends here, which we're going to show later. M is going to be the conduit. I'm here more as like the background, kind of like the backdrop. We're just going to let him just bring his magic straight to you. And let's just get it started here. M, I've been basically in awe of you since I met you last summer because, you know, you're doing work with not only regular people, you know, laymen, you know, people trying to get up there, but you're working with big shots like Bobby Brown, Britney Spears, Darius McCray, Zoe Ash, who's in the background kicking her heels, whose work, by the way, you're going to be fitting Rihanna with at the Emmys, huh?
That's right.
But before we get into all that, how did you get your start?
I started my first job at Carl Kanai, which is considered the grandfather of hip-hop jeans. And I was blessed enough to have that as my first job because I had to learn everything on the job. And because at that time it was a $450 million company,
Mm-hmm.
and it was ran by Carl and maybe 8 other employees, including myself, I had to learn everything and go through everything and ended up getting a lot of experience.
That's incredible. How did you catch his eye?
It was just set up by the school, to be honest. I went to the Career Center at the school that I attended, which is FITM, the West Coast partner of Project Runway,
Mm-hmm.
here in downtown LA, and they set up the interview and they hired me on the same day.
Incredible. So some things do happen overnight.
I think if it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Yeah. Now, I was reading that you were inspired by your parents.
Yeah, I come from a multicultural background.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was exposed to a lot of religions and cultures from birth, and that's still my inspiration today for designing,
Cool.
multicultural and traveling and mixing the cultures.
Okay. Now, where did you grow up?
I grew up, I was born in the Philippines in Manila, but I grew up in LA. And when I was 20, I started traveling around the world, and that's when I got exposed to even more cultures.
Okay. Now, I'm just trying to as I said, this show is called the Nuclear Popcorn. We spoke earlier about why the popcorn,
Yeah.
and I said I envision the soul, you know, raw and then getting hot, becoming eventually a full-fledged kernel, puffy, and then igniting into a nuclear
Explode.
bomb.
Yeah.
So how did your kernel blow up like it is now? Because I know you said you started traveling. People just don't start traveling. So how did you do that?
Going back to my first job at Carl Kanai,
Mm-hmm.
he got his license to a Chinese company, I think 5 years in. And they needed someone to go and handle the production and speak to the Chinese manufacturers for him.
Mm.
And they sent me there. And I was 19 at the time. So I had no clue about anything. But again, the fact that they sent me kind of forced me to learn everything on the job. So I learned about sampling, production, development, prototype, everything.
Wow.
And from there, it just kept going. They invited me again to do another production trip, and then I ended up being a liaison to the distributors for Carl Kanai, let's say Mitsubishi for Japan, or Belt Success for South Africa. And next
Wow.
thing you know, I was approving production for other countries at 21.
That's incredible.
So I'm not really sure how it started. It kind of just went, and I don't know if there's one big bang or an explosion, but it kind of just snowballs. You know what I mean?
So it's kind of like there was a suit, then all of a sudden the suit jumped on you.
And I just went with it.
And then all of a sudden a
right.
car jumped up, it started driving.
Right.
All of a sudden you're in a airplane, it's like, what's going on?
Right,
and then you
right.
just started doing it as it went along.
I
That's
was
cool.
very reactive to the situations given to me.
Kind of like a predestined.
Felt like it.
Yeah. So now I was reading that you say that everything you do, and it kind of mimics what I've heard other designers say, but every designer is different. But I've always heard that your work tells a story. The way the clothing's done is supposed to tell a story, but you say you express yourself. And I see that you use different types of elements within your clothing. I don't know if you use rayons or silks. What exactly do you use to bring out what you wish to express within your clothesline?
Well, the philosophy, like the real world description of the clothing brand that I have, which is the Movement, would be men's and women's designer streetwear luxury brand. But the philosophical kind of spiel for it would be the sharing of information for better living via art. So that's what I've been trying to do this entire time, is to promote positivity, equality, philanthropy through the clothing. And how I do that is by utilizing fabrics such as bamboo, soybean, charcoal, things that help the body to process things and with more comfort, things that don't create such a big byproduct that will affect the environment. And also to include charities into the fashion shows. I always work with some sort of charity in every show. One show was with Make-A-Wish, and my last couple of seasons was with AIDS health awareness.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So I'm always trying to promote that positive philosophy within the clothes.
That's cool. When you're doing any type of work, I guess since you're also a musician, would you say
I dabble in it, yeah.
Yeah. Would you say designing and doing music are the same as far as inspiration-wise? Like, does something just hit you? Do you dream, just wake up and like, whoa, and that just pours into it? Or is it just a kind of like a process where you say, okay, I'm going to do this, do that, have everything set up strategically, so when you're ready to do it, you jump into it, or is it just boom?
I think it's a combination of both, you're right, because funny enough, the logo that I have for the Movement came from a dream. And it was a recurring dream over a year.
Wow.
And I ended up fleshing out into a logo. But I am very methodical and I am very disciplined, so I do set up my workstation ergonomically so that it's set, but then I don't force myself to design unless the inspiration is there. So I set myself up, but then I design when I get the inspiration. So it's a little bit of both.
Right. So that way it's not kind of like, I hate doing it because I got to do it. It's kind of like,
it can't feel like work, and it can't feel like forced. It can't be forced.
yeah.
Because I always ask the consumers, the people that love the clothing, why they love it. Because at the end of the day, even if I'm a designer, a jean is a jean, and a t-shirt's a t-shirt, and you always put your jean one leg at a time. It's the same thing. But they always told me that they love my clothing because it felt good and it felt right. So I think if the intention of the designer when designing the clothes is something positive, it's going to emanate in the clothing. They're going to feel it.
So now I was wondering, part of what you stand for is change, positivity. How would you like to be remembered, and how do you feel that your clothing, other than emanating positivity through the clothing, is actually making a mark? I ask that because I see people wearing your clothing. There's people who have lots of money, lots of resources, such as I mentioned, Spears, Bobby Brown, McCrary, these type of people. A lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon, so to speak. So as far as normal laymen, civilians, do you think that there's something that you wish for them to express through your clothing? Or is it more a matter of, like you said, jeans to jean is a jean?
Well, all the comments that I've heard of them, of the consumers saying that they felt good in the clothing, that it felt right, are the laymen. They're the ones that feel it. And I think celebrity or not, I think it's just human beings. And I think if you emit if you radiate a certain frequency, a positive frequency, other human beings pick up on it.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's kind of a universal language.
It's kind of like, yeah. I was gonna just think, sometimes I think maybe people are like, just like you said, we're human beings, everyone feels it. But I think only certain people might be able to feel certain things, or certain humans can only see certain things.
I think everyone innately is the same, and maybe that's a naivety, a naive kind of look on my part. But I believe that everyone is born with the same kind of sets of skills, the six senses, you know, everything, the five fingers, etc. But I think over time in this society, you're conditioned to be distracted, to not pay attention to those senses. So you don't receive information as clearly as you used to. So I think if you learn to detox and learn to stay away from the distractions, which is very hard in LA, then you can, I think everyone can see the same things.
Yeah. Do you feel that sometimes the, let's say, not necessarily the rich and famous, but don't sometimes they come to you and say, this is what I'm feeling, can you do this for me?
Yeah, and when it comes to fashion design, it's a business. You know, it's a combination of art and business. It's not like painting. So you always have to keep the consumer in mind, and particularly with celebrities, sometimes that outfit is just for a particular event or a particular red carpet or a certain themed concert. So no matter what my aesthetic is, I always have to match it up with what the focus and goal is for that client at that time, for that date. You know, so it has to be a balance of all the above. It can't just be my vision.
That's cool. Because I used to kind of think it was more like, kind of like what you just said, that it was art. So I kind of figured that it was more of this, you know, when I'm not a designer per se, although I've dabbled in art and I have art friends. But for some reason I thought there might be some sort of similarity, but it's a business. But
it's a business, and but it's still creative, which is why I love it. You know, it's not accounting, it's not finance. It's still very creative, but I think the discipline of the creativity in fashion is intriguing to me, and I love it, because you also can't be so creative that you're not functional, or you don't make money, or you can't support yourself. You know, I think fashion is a good balance.
as far as your genre goes, I never knew about it. It's just like you said, sometimes you can get distracted, and I should have known that. I'm not sure how to exactly define your genre. I think you just said it, designer street urban wear. Is that the correct term?
Streetwear, yep.
Because before I knew about it, I was just thinking that people just wore what they wore. And then I started working with LA Fashion Judge, and that's when I started going to different places like Art Hearts. That's where I met you at the FDE.
Yes.
And that's when I became aware of what was in front of my face all the time,
I think,
that there's another thing going on.
Yeah, fashion is very a sign of the times. It's not only a personal expression, it's a political statement. And even when the whole hipster movement came in, where everyone wore black and everything became minimalistic, that came at the same time as the recession. So it's no coincidence, you know, things, the times became tougher and everyone simplified their lives, and it translated into fashion.
So when did street urban wear start? It hasn't always been there, has it?
No, it started when Carl Kanai is considered the godfather of hip hop, urban fashion, and it started at that time. The only brand that preceded him was Cross Colors, but he was a part of that too.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did he ever say, I got something planned? Did he ever say, this is what I'm going to do? And
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, he also had an intent from the beginning to create a certain type of look that was never created before. So yes, he planned on doing that. It wasn't a mistake.
Cool. I had always thought that sometimes the media takes people so far off of the road that they see different things, like how they saw the Beatles as evil because they had the hair that was long. Our hair is much longer than what the Beatles ever did, and they made it into something else. But then, I mean, I never thought that hip hop people were evil or anything like that. But when you see the media day in, day out, blah 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 blah, and then you see the clothes they wear, and then you almost put two and two together that that's what it is when you see it. But then when I started seeing different artists such as yourself, and then people said, well, this is what I'm doing
And
to
the message
counteract.
behind it, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, I'm showing that you can use the same labels as they say gangsters use and put positivity on it. And I can do this and show you where it was once looked upon as gang attire. Now it's something that all the kids, I don't care if you're rich, black, Asian, whatever, everyone wants this, and we give it at a certain price, and then make it a little bit more posh for those who have the means to do it. I think it's kind of cool.
Well, I think life is neutral. It just is, you know, like it's just like religion. You know, you can two people read the same Bible or book and have two different perceptions. So
Mhm.
it's really the human translation of what's going on in life that either perverts it or uplifts it. So, but life itself is kind of neutral. It just is.
Definitely, definitely. When I started seeing that people like Jay-Z, I mean, you should just, if you could just envision my look, I'm not square, but I had no idea that people were making 500 million, close to $1 billion doing, and then I'm like, well, I mean, if you just listen to what they say about Jay-Z or 50 Cent and all these guys, and then you see, these guys are not, okay, they get into some trouble and all that. But meanwhile, they got brands where they're making 550 million, they're selling it for freaking almost $1 billion. And that never hits the airwaves, which is real. And then you guys are like just pulling it back in, but through such things as fashion shows, then everyone else from actors to you name it that have some sort of spot or niche in the creative field, they all come there. I was amazed to see.
The turnout.
It just opened up a brand new world. My vision got like, just make room for this. And I was like, saw like 50 Cents there. I saw John Walsh. I saw all these actors. In fact, over at the place in Hollywood, right there.
Yeah.
What was that? The Triad Center, whatever it's called. Whatever it's called. I mean, I could barely. That's one of the few places where you could
the
be.
Media wall, yeah.
You could be smushed up against very pretty women, and they're not even worrying because they know you're not trying to be nasty because there's nowhere to go. And everyone is like, this is a fire hazard, but it's like everyone's trying to squeeze into that room to see who's going to be walking down
It
that
was
stage.
exciting.
It was incredible. Unbelievable. So are you going to be doing anything in Paris? Because I know you practically live in Dubai and Bangladesh.
Overseas. I live overseas.
Yeah.
In Asia, in LA. I'm still Angelino. Yeah, but I'm sticking to LA Fashion Week and New York Fashion Week.
Yeah. So now, I was reading a little bit about your friend Zoash. She wants to eventually, and we'll have her on here in a few, ladies and gentlemen, but she wants to eventually get into the Middle East and.
Well, Zone Ash is the brand, and we'll introduce Ash, the designer,
Yeah.
in the segment. But she's based out of Bangladesh, and we're introducing her brand to the U.S. market.
Now, I want to ask her some things about what she's not doing yet, which she might be, but I don't want to get into that just yet. But I think the most incredible thing that I want to talk about, I don't know if you want to, but your connection to Prince. Would you like to talk about that, or is that something you don't?
Prince?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I work with Maurice Hayes, and he's the creative director, music director for Prince for over 20 years. And I just designed something for their performance because they have, Prince's band has their own musical group called Lord's UV, and I created something for them for a performance last month. But I'm going to continue working with them for a new clothing line.
What's it going to be called?
We don't know yet. That's still under wraps because we're kind of just brainstorming. It's a whole new vision, whole new idea. Not sure yet.
That's probably going to be wild. Is it going to have that symbol that Prince
No.
used to call himself before he went back to being called Prince?
No. It's going to be a completely new vision. Even the music is different.
Mm-hmm. So now was that during I think you just said you did it for the Minneapolis event where he gave like a farewell to Prince. Was that when it was done?
No, they did a performance last month. I think it was sort of a farewell, but also to introduce the new band. But it was at a legendary venue that Prince always performed at. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So could you describe how was that? Was it well received? Was it like door to door people? Wall people?
They have their own following in their own right, but they're known for being Prince's band.
Mm-hmm.
So they have that following plus their new audience. So it was well received, and the outfits look great, I thought.
Yeah. Were they also done with bamboo, or did you bring something different?
Just, their look is kind of futuristic. So this is another case in point that even though I'm an eco-friendly designer, I had to make something futuristic for them.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a little more sleek, and it was like a poly rayon jersey modal. So it was shiny, it was drapey, it wasn't what I usually do.
Okay. Now, what you're wearing right now, is that something that's part of what you have made as well? Or
I created, yeah, it's just
touch
something
it?
for,
you see how it feels?
oh yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like a metallic leopard, subtle leopard print scarf. But as a designer, scarves have been my signature. So I just include a scarf in every season.
Cool. Now, you do work for, I mean, you design clothes for both men and women.
Yes, and then the line is a full line. So it's watches, shoes. It's a lifestyle brand. So watches, shoes, hats, scarves, everything. It's not just t-shirts and jeans. It's a full line.
And do you also do the triple X like some of the other guys do?
I have to because I'm a double X myself. I'm a triple X in some countries. Yeah, so I have to. I can't wear the model size myself, so I need to extend the range.
Now, but now I see there's this one guy, I don't know, Eric Rossetti, he does triple X, but it doesn't seem like, is he making a statement that is extra avant-garde as opposed to just extra, for people that are stuck on swole, kind of?
I don't know. I don't know what his vision would be.
Yeah.
Right?
But now, as far as that, your work sometimes is a little avant-garde, would you say?
I think it's.
Some of the visions.
I think there's touches of that, but at the end of the day, I even started fashion design for myself because I couldn't find clothes that I wanted in the stores. And my style is very easy and comfortable and functional. So my clothing always has to be something very wearable. So even though it's stylish, it's something you can take directly from the runway and to the streets.
Cool.
I don't like to do anything so avant-garde that's not wearable.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of wearable, I was sitting home one morning watching TV, kind of daydreamed, and I heard, and now in the Movement's clothing. And I was like, no, I didn't just hear that. And then I got your phone call,
let's make
yo,
a deal.
dude. And then I saw you saying, yo, on my phone, yeah, those are just my clothes. I was like, that was you, huh? That's cool. So you're friends with Wayne Brady?
Yeah, close friends with Wayne Brady, and he has featured my product on his show, Let's Make a Deal, a
Yeah.
couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So are you also friends with Sue Wong, or have you guys ever worked together?
We have not worked together. I've just seen her at the shows. I don't know her actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because
It's a very busy industry, and when you get to the event at the show, you're kind of focused on your show. And I'm not one of those designers. As soon as my show is finished,
I know, because after I saw you guys do your thing, I was sitting there taking pictures, and all of a sudden, boom,
right,
you were out.
Right,
Hit it and quit it, right?
right. Because there's so many things to do.
That's one thing that kind of made me think that designers were kind of like actors, because I noticed a lot of actors. I just assumed the actors always hang together. Oh, do you know this actor? They worked in this movie, blah, blah. Never met them.
Oh, right.
And designers are saying, yeah, don't even know them.
Maybe
No.
you see them in passing, but if you're working, you're busy, so there's not really much time, especially fashion where everything is due yesterday. There's really no time to,
It's always,
there's always the next thing that you need done by this time,
Who would you say is someone that caught your eyes? Would you say that Miss Ash that's coming out is someone
for
that
sure.
definitely
Zone Ash
caught your
is a
eye?
brand that caught my eye, which is why I'm helping to introduce her line to the U.S. market. It's beautiful stuff.
Speaking
And
of
other
beautiful,
artists respect other artists, right?
yeah, as they say, game knows game, right? Speaking of beautiful, tell us about Rihanna.
Oh, well, Rihanna.
How's it like working? Actually, how's it like working with her? How's it like working with Brittany, Bobby? Are there certain types of people that
I think
you tend to gravitate towards?
I think it's all about, like I mentioned earlier, vibration and frequency. So, celebrity or not, you can feel whether you guys click or not. And so far, I've been lucky enough that every celebrity that's approached me has been pleasant.
So now, when you say you're fitting Rihanna for the Emmys, what does that mean? You're gonna?
I'm actually presenting her with Zone Ash dresses because I myself don't have dresses in the Movement line.
Oh,
And
thought you did.
Dresses, but not for red carpets. So for the Emmys or award shows, Zone Ash's line would be more appropriate.
That's
You know what I mean?
that's incredible. So now, when you say fitting, does that mean you'll be taking out the measurement, the whole thing?
Yeah, seeing if it fits, if she likes it, and how it's gonna, if she thinks it's appropriate for the event, etc.
So, since I'm kind of like a layman, let's say you fit her up. Does Zoe actually go right into creating something for her right at the
No,
moment?
we.
It's already done?
Yeah, in situations like this, especially with someone as busy as Rihanna, you kind of have to even catch them on tour sometimes. You need to provide them with options, and then with the options, they make a choice, and then you tailor the first choice.
Okay. Well, before we get right into it, give us a quick breakdown on who you're about to bring out here, because we don't want to send people into palpitations when they get shocked by the incredible people coming out.
Our next guest is Ash Sarzane. She's the designer for Zone Ash, and she has an incredible line of hand-beaded and sequenced dresses from Bangladesh. Again, like I said, we're introducing this to the U.S. market, so we're going to showcase one of her pieces here.
Now, is this the first time she's ever done anything in the
First
US?
time.
Right here on Nuclear
Exclusive.
Popcorn. This is an exclusive. This is a nuke-clusive.
Yes.
So what's happening on your radar? Because I know you're all over, and we're about to run out of time, so we got to get this ready so we can bring them on. But what's imminently hovering over you for the next major project?
I think I'm just going to continue what I'm doing now because I kind of have a rhythm, so it's a little bit of public speaking, it's a little bit of branding, and it's a lot of designing. So I think I'm just going to keep doing it and perfecting the craft.
And as far as music?
Music is a hobby, and so I don't know how deep I'm going to get into that, but I hope to at least perform something live next year.
Cool. Very cool. Well, I just want to thank you for coming here today,
Thank you.
because you've brought to me something that you haven't taken anywhere else in the world, exclusivity. Plus, it's very nice to meet you and find out, what a genius is like. Because you seem normal, but I know there's exclusive things firing off in your synapses. It's so nice to see you.
Pleasure.
Hang in there. We'll be right back with some groovy stuff. This has been M the Movement, moving all on top of you. We'll be right back. Cool. So now we got to get another chair in here. So we're gonna